Creative Gold. Becoming a Highly Valuable Creative Entrepreneur. Volume 1, Knowing, by Angelina Henry, High Veracity Studios. Narrated by Stephen Perkins. It is important to remember that the better acquainted you are with yourself, the easier you will find it to become more attuned with the business of your dreams. In the following, I have listed the first step to increasing clarity, monetary value, and fulfillment of one's creative destiny. Knowing. List. Section 1. Note down your skill set, that is, everything that you consider to be a strength or gift of yours. Section 2. Discover your creative power position. This exercise will help you determine how you will structure your unique business model. For each of your gifts, uncover what ranks the best. A. Passion or drive. You could happily do it all day and all night. B. Resource abundance. The skills, money, tools, or team members necessary in order to deliver this gift to others in the form of a good or service. C. Knowledge level. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you know about the actual industries you are considering? What aspects do you still need to learn? D. Talent level. Get honest with yourself and ask for people's constructive critique of your work. Consider your natural aptitude for each art form. What more do you need to learn to close the gap in your knowledge? Learn more about any advanced techniques that can raise the bar on your quality of execution. Section 3. Narrow down. Make a short list of gifts you think would make the best business for you with the resources you have now. Then research each industry on your short list. Learn about the politics, etiquette, and other inner workings. Who are the current industry leaders? What are they doing to serve the community, and how can your perspective add to the conversation? Take time to research your industry's masters, living and dead. Practice and experiment with different techniques until you are quietly confident of your ability and what works for you and what accentuates your gifts the best. Even if we think we already know all we need to know about what it is that we do, we should never stop seeking out new, fresh, and updated information for what's going on in our industry. If it is not possible to go back to school and learn from a live teacher, Google, YouTube, and Periscope should be your best friends. Use the wealth of information broadcasters share to your advantage. Evaluate and honor your personal preferences for working with people, avoiding making yourself too frequently available for art forms that you feel too personally bound to or will take too many external resources to complete. For whatever services you do decide to offer, tailor the output to a certain amount per year and set pricing that suits your business model and ideal lifestyle. Section 4. Your story is your diversity. A little about my journey and how my experiences helped to shape my chosen business model, in the literary voice of Angelina Henry. Taking you back 10 years or so, I can recall how I went about affirming exactly what my gifts were and strengthening my confidence in those abilities. I got the most of my novice creative business experience through my artistic, photography, and graphic work I completed for my friends and family for free. Then, after I graduated senior year in 2006, I went on to go to college for fine arts, where I would build on my skill set and tighten up my workflow. Over time, I learned the nitty-gritty about what would be expected of me as an industry professional. During college, I worked as a saleswoman at various well-known companies in New York, from Macy's to Cablevision, which is when and where I learned the majority of what I know about customer service, sales, and marketing techniques. By 2010, age 22, I was appointed to creative director for a friend's startup called Downtown Mayhem. I didn't know it then, but one of the videos I created for our project, Downtown Mayhem Volume 1, an early collaborative project, would go on to be a notable part of the visibility of careers that are simply soaring 7 years on. Thousands of people saw it and loved it. It was all over Twitter and was even branded with our logo and message before we knew the true significance of what we had put in place. By then, the entire combined audience of each individual artist were aware of the work we had done as a collective, and the buzz was still there. Many people were looking to see more from us after that. But the startup was only really structured with publicity in mind, and no follow-up project was planned. Had we put into play any sort of monetization strategies, we might have been able to generate the resources we needed to continue to grow. Sadly, that effectively stunted its development and cut its life short. Shortly after the first project was completed, the company and I parted ways. But the majority of the individual artists featured in the project went on to grow and flourish and do incredible things. That experience taught me that multimedia is powerful and branding is essential to growth. Applying multimedia messaging to your business through branding and combining it with the smart profit strategies will absolutely take your business to another level. Fast forward to around 2012 when I had my daughter. I took some time while in London and began working on my painting skills. Meanwhile, I kept a keen eye on observing what was happening in the art scene in New York City. By the time that I came back to New York in 2015, I had been in contact with my unofficial fine arts mentor. He introduced me to live painting with Paint and Poetry sometime before arriving, and I'd just been waiting for my opportunity to actually attend. Paint and Poetry gave me an avenue to show and sell my work and get to know people. I did this for several months, learning each time more and more of what it took to be an artist. This is where I learned that although I loved painting and liked being on the stage, the industry itself, not as straightforward as I thought it would be. Painting is already an expensive career, and when you're working on a fine art level, that cost only increases. Not to mention, for me, it can be seriously time-consuming. The paintings that I valued the most weren't fast food, since I take an average of 6 weeks to complete a large piece. I came to know that for a fact my finest works took a whole lot of time and were personal to me. I also personally needed to be inspired and generally paint for the gratification of myself and others. So I prefer to keep my own pace with my art, whether I'm intending on selling it or keeping it for myself. This made me realize that when I do offer painting services, I will likely only take on 2 to 6 clients a year. Soon I felt I had narrowed down what I was most great at, what I had a passion for, and what I could produce the most abundantly and efficiently. This is when I began organizing portfolios of work to reflect my aptitudes and gradually charging more for my services. I then started reinvesting the money I earned into more professional equipment and classes so I could improve on my production value. After some time of this, I came to the realization that simply exchanging my time for money was a good way to create a business. Yes, with hard work, I could make an honest living doing almost anything. However, it was obvious without me working actively, these kinds of solo, hands-on business models couldn't make money. If I couldn't stop to strategize my growth while still receiving an income, then I would never grow, and I knew that wasn't the best way to build true lasting wealth. Before hiring money and mindset coaches in early 2016, I had very little idea of what to do to solve this problem beyond acquiring more customers or raising my prices. How would I begin to acquiring the kinds of resources that could sustain my lifestyle while doing what I love, and how could I do it consistently? To find answers, I spent lots of time on YouTube growing my business and spiritual knowledge, learning about everything from business models to the body's chakra, intuition, and eventually studying my mindsets and how the way we are hardwired affects each aspect of our lives. Based on the things that we are consciously and subconsciously think, say, and do, our experience changes with every decision and lack thereof. I learned that the mental emotional body is a significant part of our experience as individuals, just like the physical body also needs to be protected, strengthened, and maintained so that it can function optimally. In order for me to create and sustain the life I wanted to live, including the art I wanted to channel and the woman I wanted to be, I had to not only understand business principles, but also how to break things down and connect with my own internal condition, seeking to interpret my emotions and heal any wounds so that I won't have my progress controlled by any and all kinds of external circumstances. Going forward, I could truly be in the driver's seat of my own existence. Among the many people I encountered on YouTube and Periscope, I found quite a few coaches and gurus speaking from this perspective, many of which between them had messages I needed to hear about the inner and outer work that had to be done in my life. I observed knowledge from those incredible coaches, some strictly through their free offerings, and others whom I took a step further and actually paid money for them to teach me more. The gurus I gravitated towards were often those who were, and still are, building incredible lives for themselves in this same world I'm in, beginning with the same or far fewer resources than I have now. So I knew that since they were able to do it, it must be possible for me to get to where I am going to. I just needed to learn how it's done. Which brings me to the next step. Step 5. Who is your coach? Although it may seem counterintuitive for you to spend money on coaching when you're looking to make more money as a creative, the fact is there are other professionals out there that are far ahead of you on the path you are navigating. They're people who are more than able to show you the ropes for your next level, which is important because as much as you know, you can't possibly know everything. At some point, you will reach the ceiling of what you know and you will require help. The nuances of what it takes to grow into your next level that are typically learned by experience. So if you come across a coach or mentor willing and able to speed up your development and shorten your learning curve, you should absolutely take them up on that advantage. Going it alone is not impossible, but it is almost certain to take far, far longer without guidance. Before you invest, list, research, find out about coaches that work on areas you need the most support. Vibe check. For each coach, have a conversation or observe their free offerings. Find out about their teaching style and see if their energy and perspective jives with yours. Start smaller. If you're not totally sure that they are the coach for you long term, but you know you want to learn what they teach, start with one of their lower priced offerings and go from there. I myself had been oblivious to this game-changing principle. In fact, it took me till 2016 to actually take out my wallet and hire a coach. The first coach I hired was Naima Singletary, who focused primarily on wealth mindset and sexuality and how they converge in life. For 5 weeks, she helped me, as well as other women in the group, to fully understand the value I was born to bring into the lives of others, and how my own creativity can help to enhance the lives and businesses of others, ultimately guiding me to who my dream client was. I realized a lot of what was slowing me down was psychological and energetic. Up until then, I hadn't even set up my online payment portals, so I was not making money online and had no way to either. During my time working with her, I learned more about how limiting beliefs that develop surrounding money closes you off to opportunities and affects your ability to attract it. I learned more about where they stem from in myself so I could get beyond them to easily and fearlessly charge my worth. Organizing my home and reading the books she recommended helped me gain a lot of clarity and still now supports me in sustaining the abundant mindset frequency I'm cultivating. A few examples of really good mindset books that I read were Working with the Law by Raymond Hollowell, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, and The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. Next, I hired wealth coach Danielle Winningham. She gave me a lot of practical advice for my next level. She literally broke down to me the method by which I could expound the structure of all my offerings and how doing so maximizes the return on the individual investment made. She encouraged us to take account of our passions and interests to find the route by which we will choose to make our money. Taking some time to make a note of all the things you're interested in, then strike off the interests that you can't pursue with the skills you currently have. To me, it's helpful for you to niche down further by then narrowing down to your top 2 skill sets. Then, think of as many ways as possible that you can merge them together, mix and matching 2 areas of expertise and expressing it from your own personal perspective is the best way to create a business venture that offers something unique. For instance, if your passions are ballet and photography, you can center your business empire around a combination of those two disciplines, using one to explore the other. So one idea might be to offer headshot photography services for aspiring ballet dancers. When you have pinpointed the audience for this kind of content, you can then create other things in the same vein of your original offering. Stuff you know they would really love: ballet books, posters, and other merchandise with your images on them, etc. You can even expand as far as teaching the method to photographing moving subjects, and the list goes on. Once you know the audience you want to niche your business down to, the key is to stay in your lines of scope of the business you have chosen. Even if you want to at some point talk about hair, for instance, it should always have its roots in your core offering, leading back to the perspective of ballet. Creating a range of products and services for my brand was a vital piece of the financial puzzle and a prime example of a critical component I didn't already have a full knowledge of. Knowledge of these different principles immediately put me ahead of other businesses who were at the same level of development that I was at the time, but perhaps didn't take the step of hiring a coach to teach them what they did not already know. In just 10 short weeks, she effectively served me with the benefit of years of her own trial and error. So I didn't necessarily have to stumble around blindly trying to make money. Now I have actual direction and action steps to take to not only profit from my passions, but how to structure and scale that business and create an empire of products and services that complement one another and serve my audience in the best way possible. My passion has always blazed fiercely, but I lacked a proper plan for how I would channel that ability into money. Ultimately, it's up to the individual to apply the appropriate action and laser focus their knowledge, intention, and intuition on achieving the goals they set for themselves. This includes asking for help when you need it and making the time and financial investments necessary for you to continue to grow. Finally, I attended a class for Facebook ads with copyright expert April Beverly. She broke down how Facebook works to grow your reach and attract more of the right people to you. She taught us how to get around the pitfalls of Facebook's new algorithm to continue getting your voice heard. And even with no list of subscribers, ways that you can use Facebook algorithms and targeting data to your advantage, finding potential customers on Facebook, and showing them your paid ads. Through her instruction, I learned the ins and outs of creating strategically targeted Facebook ads that will work backstage of my business, helping me compound any social media efforts and connect more effectively with my ideal customer base. Now, I feel much more confident utilizing this game-changing tool. She actually taught me how I could start now with the resources I had and do exactly what has worked for her, so I didn't have to waste time trying to figure it out on my own. With each new experience, I feel myself stretching and expanding, and although it's sometimes extremely uncomfortable, it's all worth it. Your business is ultimately a reflection of you, so as a rule, it should always be growing and becoming more and more refined. As you make adjustments and improvements to become your dream self, your business will naturally fall in line with that energy. Step 6. Get to know your audience. Create content that you love and are excited by, and put it in front of the people who you believe will benefit from it the greatest. Present yourself in a way benefiting the audience, and then pay attention to the types of people that are attracted to you and your business. Tell your story to interact and build connections with people. Interact with others and engage with their content. List. Learn about your audience and subcategories. There are always going to be 4 types of audiences following your content. Buyers. 1. People who do what you do. They will pay you for the knowledge you have, the wisdom you share, and the method to your madness. These are your product consumers. 2. People who want you to do the magic for them and their business. They will pay you more for the results you can provide. These are your service consumers. Non-buyers. 3. You have your cheerleaders. These are usually your friends and family who perhaps will not buy from you because they are not necessarily your ideal customer, but they will like and engage with your content and sometimes will help you to promote by reposting as well as providing other types of support. 4. Potentials. Maybe they're interested in working with you, maybe not. They haven't decided if they need what you have and they're gathering evidence. Sometimes they jump in and out of your fellowship and they don't engage much. This can happen at the beginning of your relationship when people are still checking you out. It's up to you to continue to show up consistently and give value that's authentic. Perhaps you might clarify some frequently asked questions publicly, and if these people are so moved, they will eventually engage and buy from you. If not, oh well, you may just not be for them, and that's okay. As you get a groove on who your customer is, what their tastes are, and you understand how you align, commonalities will begin to develop. Knowing this, you can start to deliberately establish a personality and vibe for your community regarding what people can come to expect when they visit. This is otherwise known as business culture. Step 7. Build out your business culture. Business culture is something that is nourished and evolves over time. Basically, it's your job to plant the seed, water it, and remove any weeds. Another analogy is that it's almost like planning a party. You could always choose the music, food, and the environment, but until you get those first few guests and start interacting with them, you will have little idea of what works best for the individual, as well as ensuring that the majority of those invited are entertained. One thing you can remember, though, is that culture should always be somewhat of a reflection of you, based on your likes and dislikes, but also influenced by your industry and the common needs you seek to satisfy for your prospects. Think carefully and brainstorm. List. What are the words you would want associated with your brand? Research and select up to 3 colors that you will be using throughout your brand to cultivate brand recognition. What are your own personal values, and how do they express themselves in your work? What kind of language do you use to connect with your ideal audience? Choose what you will use as your primary communication medium. Will it be videos, blogs, images, audio, or something else? Finally, make sure that whatever you choose as your primary method of communication feels absolutely authentic to you and plays to your strengths. And be sure that whatever you lead with showcases your value in the best way possible. Once you have successfully addressed all of the items mentioned in this volume, you will have built for yourself the foundation of knowledge needed to grow into the powerful creative entrepreneur that you were born to be. This volume of Creative Gold, we call Knowing, teaches you that it all starts with you, your own thoughts and feelings and beliefs about the value that you bring to the game sets the stage for you and your presentation of the overall value that you bring. Getting deep in thought and making decisions based on your own creative motivations is key. As you piece together how your particular art form evolved from your personal story, naturally your brand will become more rooted in such a personal way that authenticity simply will ooze from your work, effortlessly attracting the type of attention that is unshakably loyal and genuinely engaged to your messaging. Creative Gold. Becoming a Highly Valuable Creative Entrepreneur, Volume 1. Step 1, Knowing, by Angelina Henry, High Veracity Studios. Narrated by Stephen Perkins of PerkinsTutor.com.